Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Day's Podcast along with a new video. Don't mind the background, it is currently my gaming channel, just kind of watching for feedback. But besides the point, thank you for coming, thank you for watching, thank you for viewing, thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it. Like and subscribe, of course, enjoy. And of course, check out Patreon, check out Spotify, if anything. There will be exclusive episodes that will be released soon. I am working on them as we speak. So let's get into this. As far as this video right now, this new episode, we are talking about Brandy's debut album, Brandy. Yes, we are. So I wanted to talk in such an order when it came to R&B women that came out in the 90s as opposed to an already Janet Jackson. I've yet to talk about Whitney, and I only talked about one of multiple albums from Mariah Carey. So we are going to talk about a few people and the receptions of the public, and yeah, we're getting into it. And as far as with Patreon, yes, we will have exclusive videos talking about these people as well, and just what they are to us as far as fans and just their contributions, because they've done a lot in the past 30 plus years. So let's get into it. So Brandy is the debut studio album from Brandy. She was released September. It was released. Okay, well, it could be listen, they say he, eras, you know, it is what it is. It was released September 27th, 1994. So I was already, September 27th, 1994, I was already 4 years old, 4 months old, I'm sorry. I was already 4 months old. By Atlantic Records. Chiefly produced by Keith Crouch, the album contains a range of contemporary genres, including hip-hop, pop soul, and R&B. Aside from Crouch, Norwood worked with a range of other writers and producers, including R&B groups Something for the People, Arvell McClinton, and Damon Thomas. Upon release, Brandy received generally positive reviews from music critics, who complimented Norwood's appearance as well as the album's timeless appeal. While the album initially sold slowly, it reached number 20 on the US 200 and was certified quadruple platinum by the Recording Academy, selling over 2 million copies in the US. Worldwide, the album has sold over 6 million copies. So this was a big deal. Brandy was really setting the tone when it came to young black girls. And I want to say this respectfully in a way where it's understood in the timeline. Aaliyah had released her album 4 months prior, and they were close, as well as Monica and her were close. These three girls ran the 90s. Individually, in their own way, in their own right, they ran the 90s. And it just, when I see them, I think of Powerpuff Girls. I just like the three of them. There's just, of course, you know, you would feel like, you know, Monica's Buttercup. But as far as Bubbles and Blossom, you know, it's whoever you feel would be what. But then again, you know, maybe Aaliyah would be Buttercup, because she was the one that wanted to be, you know, I don't want nobody getting too, okay, what'd you do? But I'm just, all I can say is this, Aaliyah, Brandy, then Monica. Those releases came back to back, and everyone got to be able to see, like, these girls, black young girls are winning. Like, they're doing it out here. And, you know, again, I know that Brandy loved her and admired her. And I just didn't want to not bring that up in the sense of timeline and just in the sense of where, music was going, and also because I already had spoke on Aaliyah, so I can be more in depth with Brandy now, as opposed to putting together respectfully Aaliyah's timeline to coincide with what was going on with music, with Brandy already releasing in that timeline too. So let's continue. 4 singles were released from the album. I Want to Be Down was chosen as the album's lead single and peaked at number 6 on the US Hot 100. The song was critically lauded and was regarded as the standout track for Brandy. The album's second single, Baby, was also well received and peaked at number 4 on the Hot 100. The following 2 singles, Best Friend and Broken Hearted, peaked at 34 and 9 on the Hot 100, respectively. Brandy and his singles garnered Norwood nominations for various awards, including 2 Grammy Award nominations. The success of the album allowed Norwood to establish herself as one of the most successful of the then new generation of R&B female vocalists who emerged during the mid to late 90s. Like I said, like Aaliyah, Brandy, Monica, literally in the same category, were just slain, just couldn't stop them. Couldn't stop them. So yeah, let's look at the background of this album. And now, so wait, let's go back. So yes, it was recorded in 1993, going into 1994. So yes, like I said, when Aaliyah released Ain't Nothing But a Number, this was still being worked on. So it's just, like I said, you know, everybody was able to kind of see the fact that there were young Black women emerging and authentically being themselves. And that's what I respect as far as for all their music. A lot of people like to get into the drama of things, and I don't really see drama going on when it comes to these women. Though, of course, it's been already transpired, it's already been just handled. But by the second album of Monica and Brandy alike, there was some feuds. I wouldn't even say feuds. There was a feud, allegedly. But it's all over now, you know. And the thing about it is, again, in the midst of her first album, there was so much that she was proving, Brandy, and she was making sure people knew, like, I'm a vocalist, like, I love to sing, you know, I love to perform, that's just the beauty of these women in this album as well. Just they loved what they do. They still love what they do. Yeah, so in 1990, Norwood's talent led to a binding oral contract with Teaspoon Productions, headed by Chris Stokes and Earl Harris, who obtained her gigs as a backing vocalist for their R&B boy band, Immature. So, Brandy knew of Immature from back in the day. I'm kind of reading this and kind of learning as I go, but yes. The agreement also called for Teaspoon to represent her in an attempt to secure her a record deal. Norwood first auditioned for Atlantic Records when she was 11 years old. Unfortunately, the executives at the label turned her away as they felt she was too young and urged her to come back when she turned 14. So, a lot of times, people wanted to have a record deal at a younger age that was similar to Michael Jackson, because they would already have that stamp of I'm out, as opposed to I'm growing and I'm here. And so a lot of times people have that sense of where they're like, no, you know, you're ready, and then you realize maybe a few years later, no, I wasn't. You know, I needed more to do. And that's for pretty much all artists. Like, all artists need their time to kind of just get themselves together. Coincidentally, on the same day, In 1993, Teaspoon Productions had negotiated a deal for Norwood with Eastwood Records, while her parents organized a record contract with Atlantic Records. During her audition at Atlantic, she auditioned for the company's director of A&R, Darrell Williams. Williams recalled Norwood's audition, saying Brandy stood out. She was just energetic and had an incredible voice for a 14-year-old. Norwood subsequently dropped out of Hollywood High School later and was tutored privately from 10th grade on. So, I'm gonna read this next paragraph. During the early production stages of her debut on the Atlantic label, Norwood was selected for a role in the ABC sitcom Thea, portraying the 15-year-old daughter of a single mother played by Thea Vidal. Broadcast to mediocre ratings, the series ended after one season consisting of 19 episodes. Norwood appreciated the cancellation of the show as she was unenthusiastic about acting at the time. Also, taping caused scheduling conflicts with the recording of her album. According to Norwood, I wanted to sing so badly that I was miserable when I had to cancel studio time to tape. She further discussed the show's cancellation, saying, when Thea was canceled, I was like, okay, I can now put all my focus on my album. So, like I said, 1993 into 1994, she's doing this show. It's not received well. Meanwhile, you have Aaliyah coming out and just flourishing. She's almost done with her album and saying, thankfully, I can be done with this album because that Thea sitcom is not doing me too much. And I'm seeing a peer that I want to have. Respectfully. I don't think, like, a lot of times I be feeling like when people are going to be in the industry and they see someone like making it and doing something, they want to be next to them. Like, they want to know them and be like, you know, you inspire me, you influence me, and I hope I can do that in some way for you too, because we out here, we making this money. And I just think that just from how hungry she was to make this album, it just kind of tells you. And I'm not speaking based on just Aaliyah, because you also had Toni Braxton that was out in 93. You had Janet that was out in 93. You had Brownstone in 93. Well, 94 actually. Yeah, now, wait a minute. Brownstone came out in 94. Yes. Yes, let me actually look at the album name. It's just, yeah, R&B group Brownstone. Yeah. Let me just make sure I tell y'all which album came out when. Yes. Oh, so yes, January 10th, 1995, Brownstone was coming out. So Brownstone was in the mix. I'm trying to think of art. Like, 94 was 30 years ago. Was just a big deal for releases. You actually had rappers coming out like Nas, and you had Biggie coming out, and then, you know, there's an emerging Jay-Z, there's an emerging DMX, there's an emerging, well, not even emerging, there's, you know, Wu-Tang Clan, there's all these different people coming out musically, and not even in just those genres, like with rock and pop music too, and like I already said, Michael was coming out within a year of this. So it was just like everybody was coming back and was doing something or coming out. So, you know, you're going to hear me say that a lot in putting other people in perspective with those same with those same releases, because that was the time. That's what would show as far as for releases, how things were going and what was the public taking in, what the public was not. It shows. But yes, to get back to what I was looking at here. But yeah, Atlantic consulted relatively unknown then 21-year-old writer Keith Crouch, nephew of gospel singer Andrea Crouch, to work on Norwood on the bulk of the throwback funk soul production of the album. In a 2012 interview with Vibe, Norwood elaborated that her collaboration with Crouch was very important for me as a young artist. At the time, he was not trying to be like anyone else on radio. He was all about his own sound. He gave me real music. He didn't give me teeny bopper records. It was age appropriate, youthful records, but it was also still real music. We had a great connection. Crouch would go on to work on 50% of Brandy, setting much of the tone of the album, with 4 from his 5 tracks becoming singles. While recording of her vocals with him, Brandy was inspired by several singers, citing Whitney Houston and gospel group the Clark Sisters as major inspirations, particularly sorry y'all. Pretty much particularly, I can't even say that word, that's wild, from the song Moving On. However, she struggled to identify with some of Crouch's material at first, especially on Baby, whose lyrics made her feel afraid of not being old enough. While Crouch would provide the core sound of the album, Norwood also worked with all-male R&B group Something for the People on several tracks, including Sunny Day, Give Me You, and I Dedicate. The latter of which was later split into 3 interludes. Damon Thomas co-wrote I'm Yours and produced Love Is On My Side. And then 16-year-old Robin Thicke scores his first co-writing credit on the latter. Robin Thicke knew of Brandy from Love Is On My Side. So Robin Thicke been around for 30 years plus, y'all. And 16 too, like he was a little older than her, but he was right there. Listen, the things you read on. So yes, let's look at the critical reception. It was positive. Eddie Huffman from AllMusic, this teenage R&B singer hit the top 10 late in '94 with I Wanna Be Down, a representative track from her solid debut album. Brandy knows her way around a hip-hop beat, layering tender, tough vocals over spare arrangements like a lower-key Janet Jackson or a more stripped-down Mary J. Blige. Good songs with crisp production make Brandy a moving success. In 2007, Vibe rated Brandy among the 150 most essential albums since its launch. The magazine found that Brandy's debut is slow, deliberate, and naive, not for lack of accomplishment, but because the best moments here sound as wide-eyed and new as a first date. Okay. People compared the effort with Aaliyah's debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, which was released 4 months prior. See, I said this, and I said this before I'm even reading this. So that's how y'all know, like, I don't just be saying things, even to me as I'm, this is live, like, it's not even pre-recorded, like, I'm not chopping up nothing. Like, I be saying things because it's just, it makes sense. Like, I'm not even saying it just based on like, oh, I'm trying to pit no one. Like, there's nothing to pit. There was already a fascination from one place, and now there's a fascination from a really good place, just as good as the place they're looking at. And then there's, again, another fascinating, like, there's so many different things that was emerging in the 90s that I wasn't saying that for no reason, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, people compared the effort with Aaliyah's debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, which was released 4 months prior, writing, while everything about Aaliyah screams here and now, Brandy's well-groomed blend of gently lilting hip-hop and pop soul has a more timeless appeal. Ooh. With the poise and sassy confidence of a diva twice her age, Brandy mixes her love songs with tributes to her little brother, best friend, God Give Me You, The Perfect Man, Baby, and older crooners like Aretha and Whitney, I Dedicate. While this isn't groundbreaking stuff, Brandy has the pipes to become more than the latest teenage next big thing. So they felt like, and it's something because they was just, again, they had their critiques, and I feel as though, and this is my commentary, this is what I gotta say, Aaliyah is Aaliyah and Brandy is Brandy, and they stand out on their own, like I already said, and you know, this comparison, like just saying like, oh well, Aaliyah screams here and now and Brandy gives more timeless music. It's like, I mean, I feel like they both give timeless music. I don't think one doesn't give not timeless music than the other. If anything, how can someone say that Aaliyah's here and now when she had like she had the okay to sing At Your Best from Ronald Isley, and that's timeless enough. So it's just that like I said, to me, I'd be feeling like, even though orchestrated, certain things can be certain ways for different artists, I don't like when they take away from one artist to push another artist, as opposed to them both doing similar things and they're both great. I don't take away from Brandy and I don't take away from Aaliyah. I just don't think that's fair. And I'm always going to be unbiased about that. Like, I just don't think that, like, how can someone say it's her? And I spoke on the album already, and I didn't feel like it was a here and now album. And I don't feel like that would be like that for Brandy's Brandy. Like, I think that they both did well, honestly. Yes. So yeah, commercial performance, like I said, Brandy debuted at number 94 in Billboard 200 for week ending October 15th, 1994. In its 25th week on the chart, it peaked at number 20, remaining on the Billboard 200 for 89 consecutive weeks. On the U.S. top R&B hip hop charts, it was debuted at number 11. On its 14th week on the chart, it peaked at number 6, which it charted for 87 consecutive weeks. Brandy was the 52nd best-selling album of 1995, with 1.2 million copies sold in the country. By March 2002, the album had sold 2.12 million copies in the U.S. To date, the album is certified quadruple platinum with 4 million copies. And yeah, there's just no need for them to, like, there was impact from this release. Let's get into it before I get into the track list, because I'm not done. So with the release of her debut album and the combined commercial success of its singles, Norwood had established herself as a successful soul artist. The album had led her to successful endeavors before the release of her second album, Never Say Never, which was in 1998, which we will talk about, including a joint tour with vocal group Boyz II Men, songs landing on successful soundtracks for films such as Waiting to Exhale, Set It Off, her first starring TV role in the sitcom Moesha, and starring as the first African-American Cinderella in 1997. So, like I said, I don't take away from no artist. They're all great. And I said that in the midst of me starting any of these videos way back a few months ago. So, wildly acclaimed, Brandy was named one of the 50 best R&B albums of the 1990s by Complex. American neo-soul singer Erykah Badu revealed on Twitter that her debut studio album, Baduism, was partly influenced by Brandy, tweeting, "Brandy's first album was one of my inspirations when writing Baduism. I love that album. Songs I like were I Want to Be Down and Always on My Mind. Nice." Fellow neo-soul artist Jill Scott particularly praised the song Sunny Day and Always on My Mind, saying, "I listen to her shit all the time." Pop group Carmen's song Broken Hearted was inspired by Brandy's song of the same title. Canadian recording artist Drake sampled all 3 parts of I Dedicate on his 4th studio album Views for the song Fire and Desire. Gospel recording artist The Walls group covered the song Always on My Mind, turning it into God on My Mind. So it's a great album. It's a legendary album, and I just feel as though when, like I said, just depicting critics, you really can see like this is how people really be feeling. Like this is what's going on. Like I don't know. It's crazy. But the track list, let's get into that. Moving On, which is number 1. Baby, which is number 2. Best Friend, which is number 3. I Want to Be Down, which is number 4. I Dedicate Part 1. So by track 5, you know, you're already getting a good feel of who Brandy is so far. Just, you know, she's just giving you song to song, like just going off. And I Dedicate was just pretty much her just showing the sense of just singing and letting her fans know like this is for you. Track six is Broken Hearted, which is a really good song, really great song. And it was remixed with her and Wanye. And then there's I'm Yours. Then there's Sunny Day, which is track 8. Track 9 is As Long As You're Here. Now I like As Long As You're Here. As long as you're here. Yeah. Track 10, Always on My Mind. Then 11 is I Dedicate Part 2. And so when it gets to Part 2, you notice more vocals coming out, and she's kind of bringing you into more vocal sides of the album before it's coming to a close. Love on My Side, which is track 12. Track 13 is Give Me You. And then track 14 is I Dedicate, which is part 3, the final track. The bonus Japanese track is I Want to Be Down, which is the remix with MC Light, Queen Latifah, and Yo-Yo. So in Japan, they got to get that extra track. So I know that made the album feel a little bit more complete for Japan. Because over here, we didn't get that. That was just a single. We had to buy that separately. Okay. But yeah, that's the whole album. And again, it got to peak to number 20. It didn't get to chart as much overseas, but from her next release, Never Say Never, which we'll talk about, different story. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and episode. I truly appreciate it, and thank you again for listening and watching, and I'll be back with more.